Yo, what's going on? This is the NRW, or Nerds Rule the World. It's your boy, Kuya P, and I'm here with the one and only, the one I don't want you to hurt him. It's Heather Hurts. Heather, don't hurt him, Heather Hurt from New Release Wednesday and the NRW, obviously. We are here to break down Moon Knight episodes 5 and 6. And if you haven't seen our 1 through 4, go check that out on the channel. Usually we break these down per episodes, but we've been very busy, so we're giving you just 2 episodes to break down the entire season. And with this one, we're giving you 5 and 6. Let me go ahead and throw it off to Heather, because let's just get right into it. Heather, what's going on in episodes 5 and 6 of Moon Knight to close out the season?
Sure. So we have episode 5, which is Asylum. This is where, of course, at the end of episode 4, we see Mark has gotten shot by Harrow. He was in a mental institution, and as far as we know, we are still kind of unsure if it is real life or otherwise, or which one was real life and which one isn't. And throughout the episode of Asylum, what we find out is that Taweret, the hippo goddess, who we see right at the end of episode 4, is actually taking Mark and Stephen, as they are both together in the same spot. She is taking them to the Field of Reeds, which is heaven in the ancient Egyptian, in the modern Egyptian, however you want to look at it. Concept of heaven, the perfect place where you get to build your perfect asylum after death. And that goes back and forth between him. So he's trying to fix himself internally. He goes through his own personal traumas. We actually see where his DID is first formed following the death of his brother, and his ongoing doctor-patient relationship with Harrow. So that's going on kind of back and forth. At the end of it goes out throughout the entire series. We watch why Stephen was created was as a kind of this way of him dealing internally with his mother, who is abusive and self-destructive, and how he came to the UK after his mother's death. It is a moment for really our first true foray into Jewish superheroes in this episode, because we actually see 2 Shivas during the period, one for his mother, one for his brother, and we can get into that later. And then we get a moment where Stephen, that's when Stephen finally takes over entirely. He moves to the UK. He has no idea his mother is dead, and then 2 months later, that's where the series actually begins. That we get that definitive point, and then. At the end of the episode, we see Stephen and Mark coming together, realizing that they cannot be one without the other. And we also have a very important moment, which actually leads into what happens in episode 6, Gods and Monsters, where Stephen comes to the realization that he is not separate from Mark. Mark and him are the same. Anything Mark can do, he can do better. Just kidding. Anything Mark can do, he can do. And it's a really pivotal point as a superhero. And we see that really well in episode 6. I'm just going to transition. We do lose Stephen for a brief moment. Then, of course, Osiris, the king of the gods, lets him and Mark back in after Mark gets a brief taste of the field of reeds. And then we get thrown back into the real world with Gods and Monsters. We start out with Layla, who, sees her, no matter their relationship, her and Mark's, they are still very intertwined. They still love each other. Big statement amongst people, and this would be a weird sidestep. Just because divorce happens doesn't mean you hate somebody. You can tell that they still very much care for each other. Just things changed. So she's just absolutely distraught. She wants to kill Harrow all on her own. Of course, when you have the power of a god, it's kind of hard for one person. And Taweret, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher that, gives her the option or tells her that she needs to go where she needs to go to find Khonshu so that Mark can come back. And she offers, the hippo goddess offers Layla the opportunity to become her avatar. Of course, Layla has absolutely no interest in that. She does not want to be a slave. She's seen what Mark has been through both mentally and physically for another god. Why would she want to enslave herself to a god? That would just be crazy. But it all turns around. Harrow he kills off all the other avatars. He wakes up Amit. who makes him her avatar. So Layla comes to the blinding conclusion she has no other choice. We will get to that part to it in a second. During that entire situation, Mark is brought back to life. His bullets literally falling out of his body, and so he's not going to be alive for long if there's no Khonshu. Khonshu is released. He goes and they have a very important moment where Steven makes an important deal, because there's nothing more important in the superhero God dynamic than a good contractual agreement. So we see the literal kaiju that sends him back to where he was in this really weird flying, after a really weird flying in squirrel situation. Layla accepts Tawanet's, I'm not going to totally screw that up, offer of becoming a temporary, as far as we know, avatar. She gets a really cool costume, and her and Steven Mark meet back up again in the streets of Cairo, where they have a fun fight with Harrow and his men. And then we see a big old kaiju fight in the background between Amet and Khonshu. Things look grim. And then another character steps in, and we miss about 3 minutes of a fight. And everything happens, and all of a sudden they're winning. From after a losing moment, we get 3 minutes of a time lapse. And everything gets pulled to the side. They put Amet's astro body into a human form, and they consider it a win. Mark has successfully fulfilled his deal with Khonshu, and they go their separate ways, in theory. I'm sure we'll talk about the final bit of that episode later on in this little review, but that's the final 2 episodes.
All right, there you go. And we will definitely get into that. And actually very quickly, because for the most part, for episodes 5 and 6, the characters are very much the same. Oscar Isaac is again back as Mark Spector, Moon Knight, Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow, May Kalamawai as Layla El Falauli, and as well as F. Mary Abraham as Khonshu. And most notably, Taweret, we saw her in the last episode. Again, she was our hippo god, played by Antonio Salib, was the voice actress for that character. And for the most part, the big parts at least in episode 5, I just got to give a shout out to casting. These aren't or at least stars that or actors we're not very familiar with. They're not big stars, but with them, they did their role well casted, and they definitely, gave us kind of like this environment, this very realistic feel of characters. And so the parents that played Wendy Spector and Elias Spector, which really required a lot of emotion, especially with what happens specifically to, young Mark's brother, Randall Spector, when we're getting like this history of what gave him DID, if we think in a way. So Fernanda Andrade played Wendy Spector, and Ray Lucas played Elias Spector, the 2 parents. And the young kids were Claudio Fabian Contreras as Randall Spector and Carlos S. Sanchez as young Mark. Those are the characters for episode 5. And let me see if in episode 6, if we had anybody different. We added Yatsel, which I believe was the gator god, alligator god, crocodile god, played by Diana Bermudez. And Ahmet, or maybe Ahmet was Ahmet the alligator?
Ahmet's the goddess. Diana Bermudez played Yatsel, she is the avatar of the Hearth goddess back in the beginning, who gave Mark the suggestion to go find the priests.
That's right. So Ahmet, though, that was the alligator guy.
That's the alligator lady with the weird hair.
There we go. And that's played by Sabah Mubarak. Again, I think amazing casting, and the fact that they tried to cast actors of Egyptian descent and Jewish descent, to tie with the actual characters was kudos on them to help, just show that representation and getting it right. So I think that covers all the actors. There wasn't any really new introductions, if you will, although there was a very new introduction that was manifesting throughout that we got at the very end credit of episode 6 that we'll get into in the review. I'm sure because you brought it up. I don't know if did you bring it up before that particular character?
We've talked about he who will be named.
Yes.
multiple times.
So let's start with episode 5 thoughts. This background story that we get of what manifested into Mark's DID. What did you think of that kind of background story that they kind of told there?
It was very sweet. I will say this is also where we need to be careful. Just before we really get started, we need to be careful with our delivery and writing, and we need to make sure that we have people. And when I say we, I mean I'm not in any way part of Hollywood, but where as a whole there needs to be an understanding of a religion, of a place, of a time. We had a really great casting and a really great director and a couple great directors. But there was a really strong feeling of understanding of the Palestinian and the Egyptian sides. And it was absolutely glorious. It was absolutely beautiful. And we will talk about it more in episode 6. But there's also a very real disconnect about Mark's Jewish history and Jewish background. And it was shown in a very loose way here. And I am of Jewish heritage. I do not believe in any gods at this moment. But it's one of those where it's like, I had family who died in the Holocaust. So it was Mark Spector as a Jewish man has always been a very important aspect in my life. It's one of the reasons that I love him so very much. But it's one of those where it was kind of a downturn in this episode. It did not seem like we had someone who had that kind of understanding in writing this episode. And it was one of the small issues with it. But as a whole, it was a beautiful episode. And it talked truly about how you can really internalize grief and you can internalize trauma. And it gave us a view at who Mark was from a child all the way through adulthood, because we saw him leaving to go and join the military. We saw him, he kind of had lapse in judgment, a lapse in time period. He got kicked out and how he became a mercenary. We see him dying and taking the agreement with Khonshu, Khonshu giving him that good old Batman speech. And it was a really great story that so many people needed to truly understand Mark. Was it the greatest episode? Absolutely not. But was it a really important episode for people? We talked about this. We just did a Doctor Strange review. But in that, I talked about how in so much of Marvel, we don't need the origin. We've seen it so many times. We don't need an origin. With Mark, we needed the origin. We needed that because so many people will never read a Moon Knight comic, which is unfortunate. Please read Moon Knight. But so many people won't. And the only way you can get them to fall in love with the character is if you tell the story. And we got the full story.
Yeah. This episode for me was, actually one of the better episodes. I will completely agree with you in regards to, as you were saying about Jewish heritage and that representation in there. I had quite a few my Jewish friends as well. I saw make posts online where that could have been done a lot better. And you're exactly right. And that counts. That's on the writer to make that happen. And so that's unfortunate. But for what we did get in regards to kind of like you said, explaining Mark, if they kind of just left stuff out to just for the importance of the story aspect, which is unfortunate. I think they did deliver in regards to making us feel connected, as you're saying, because I think this really, if you didn't connect with this, then something's wrong with you. It hard, especially I, as a parent now, I see a lot of, when I watch stuff that deals with parents and how they treat their children, it affects me and makes me want to do better and not commit those mistakes. I want to learn from these lessons of failures or see, what other people did wrong. And make sure I do things right. That it just, shout out to the actress that played the mother and then what she had to do, yelling at the kid just trying to do, not knowing what to do, and then how he created, how if this was the creation of the DID, which we, I'm not sure because again, other things can make that manifest, so that's why I'm trying to be careful with my words because I don't know, I'm saying that's a one-on-one experience. But if that's what we learned cinematically, it's heartbreaking, Yeah. And that's, it affected me and, gets you closer to the character. And that was just, wow, tugs at my heartstrings. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I'm a very empathic person. So they did a great job and it was well casted. and you felt connected to the character. So I thought it was a overall an episode where there are parts that they, I would have liked, representational wise done better. Yes. But for the point of the story that we're just trying to, I guess, give a very human element and just feel in that human element, I think they achieved that.
There's a really good TikTok going around right now. The sound is going around of, we grow up. One, if you did not feel anything in this episode, as you said, the real reason is because you have never experienced trauma and you are privileged enough to have never experienced trauma. And lucky you that's been the thing. But in reality, it's something like 99% of people have experienced some sort of trauma in their lives. And it's quite a large number of that is because of when you are a child. So it's, as a statement, if lucky you if you did not understand that, but it was a really beautiful version of a really important tale about childhood trauma. And it needed to be said. And once again, representation aside, it was a very carefully done episode about trauma. And it was beautiful in that sense. But in the episode, in the TikTok, there is a thing about how you grow up as an adult. When you have experienced trauma as a child, you grow into the person that the child version of you would feel safe with. And that really exemplified what happened in this episode. It was him coming to terms with his childhood self and growing into the version that would make Steven, which was his childhood trauma, feel safe. And I thought that was a really beautiful way of putting it. So it was a really nice way to do it. We'll say that it was kind of, it was a oh my God moment when you realize that the reason how this whole thing happened was because there was a little kid in the room full of dead people or people Mark killed. And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, that was whoa. Yeah. So let's move on with that being said to episode 6. Yes, the finale. What a ride. There's again, as I said when we did the 1 through 4 review, I don't know too much about the character. I learned more about the character through this and learned to like the character, love the character even more. For the finale, I don't know. Again, we kind of predicted, and you made your predictions what we thought how it was gonna end up. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I was like. It was just like, okay. I don't know. I'm still bothered with my thoughts. I'm not complete. I don't know if I'm completely satisfied is what it is.
So I'm going to put your
it felt
thoughts
rushed.
to, yes, rushed is definitely a term that has been used.
That was it for me. It felt just, okay, now we're done.
I want to give you, and I know that I'm always trying to make Moon Knight sound great. And trust me when I say there's nothing perfect about this series. Did I love it? Absolutely. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Sorry, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Was this final episode completely and totally rushed? 1,000%. But I want to put a little bit of a devil's advocate on that thought of, I don't feel satisfied. If you want more of something, that means you enjoyed it enough that you wanted more. And in reality, like once again, personally, this is a very personal opinion. That sounds like a pretty damn good review. If you are angry that there is not enough of something.
I'm with that. I can agree with that. I will say my favorite part of this that really I absolutely love. My favorite moment in the finale was Scarlet Scarab, May Calamawai. The Layla Al-Fali, when she came up with the wings, holy shit, that was both. I gotta say, I'm gonna say it because I'm thinking with my loins a little bit because I think she's beautiful, but that was sexy as fuck. And just the costume and just her natural hair all out there, I was just like, that was part hot as fuck and part dope as, what I'm saying, soup. Just like it had all the moments, and I was just like, okay, I'm with you, girl. Wherever, can I fly with you anywhere? Like, yo, I was just like, yeah, that's, what I'm saying, just being real. It was my favorite moment, and she kicked ass. I loved it.
Kicked ass. I will say that of all of the intros, she had one of the best. can we talk about her hair for a minute there?
Yes.
There was a moment, Mohammed Diab, who is the primary director.
Yeah.
He came in and he actually made a really cute comment, and I'm actually going to follow it up with my favorite part of the episode. He made a really cute comment about how his daughter has naturally curly hair, which is very prominent amongst people who have Middle Eastern heritages, and it's, many of us hate it. We absolutely hate our curly hair. We are very jealous of people who do not have curly hair, because we can't do anything with it. We really can't. When we do something, it takes a bazillion years to do it. So her having those beautiful, beautiful curls, even as a superhero, is just absolutely amazing and is absolutely wonderful. And he did it for his daughter. And that leads me to my favorite part of this episode. And I will probably start crying. I am not kidding, because it just coming to mind brings me to freaking tears. When that little girl, and she saves her, and she stops in Egyptian, which I want to learn because it's a gorgeous language. She goes, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" And Layla goes, "Yes." And oh my God, I'm going to start crying, because representation is so fucking important. And you saw it in that moment on that little baby's face. It's just a small child. It's just, that's why it's so important. You might, white cis dude bros, you might think that all you want to see is white men, but guess what? It's boring as fuck. It really is. I mean, look at me. Look how white I am. Look how boring I am.
Don't say that. No. I can't co-sign that.
It's that moment. I could watch that one scene over and over and over again for like 35 years. It was so touching. It was so important. And it has very real world impacts. Like Layla being the first Egyptian superhero in real life too. Like, she is Egyptian. She's part, we'll talk about something else in a second, but she is half Egyptian, and it's her being the real deal, both in real life and in fiction. It is going to make so many small children dream bigger because they get to see themselves on screen. It has nothing to do with us grown-ups. Guess what? We grew up. We got to see it. All of those small kids who get to see a female Egyptian superhero are going to grow up to want to become a real life superhero, become the scientists, become the archaeologists, become everything that they want to be, because they got to see themselves be greater in a film or in a television show.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I got to say, with this finale, my favorite part of this whole ride of Moon Knight was this introduction of her. We saw her become this superhero. I felt for her, as we said in our 1 through 4 episodes, that, Mark leaves her, right, and is doing his thing, and now he's, this other character and person, and she just this whole time, trying to figure out where he is, and then she goes through all of these different things, and now he's back in life, but then he's also not there. So, just my heart breaks for her. You know what I'm saying? That's quote on her husband, but doesn't know that he doesn't know because of all of his things, and then we get this birth of this superhero. But just like how she comes up was just like dope. I absolutely loved it. And my favorite part of this finale.
So give a big shout out to, she is half, so May Kalamaway, she is half Palestinian, half Egyptian. And I am saying this as an American Jewish heritage woman. Not all of us support the Israeli situation. I'm not going to make this super political. There is a lot of back and forth. I don't want to make it sound like that, but the fact that she came in with that costume, and a lot of people are comparing her with Gal Gadot, who is Zionist. It was a real ownership there. And even if the directors and writers didn't do that on purpose, the way that she owned that costume in comparison to the Wonder Woman 84 costume, which was very similar, it was like, you felt that snap. You just felt it. And it's like, that was delicious right there.
Delicious is the word, yeah. Again, yeah, I fell in love. I was like, okay. And then moving on to just other like segments, seeing her fight and hold her own. And then finally Mark, and Slash. And then even though he's going back and forth between his two personalities, was dope to see him really kind of unleash and then go in between in different fighting aspects. Even what I'm escaping Mark, and what was the other character's name? Stephen Grant. I was forgetting Stephen Grant, and then we'll get to the Jake Lockley in a second. But those fight scenes that we saw, and then when he was Stephen Grant, and then fighting in the Gentleman Moon Knight costume. That's what I'm calling it now, because again, I'm not the Moon Knight reader like
Gentleman
Knight. But he was holding his own finally now, right? Because that's the Stephen Grant version, and so that was some of those fight scenes, and then being Filipino, eskrima sticks, because he's using sticks. That fighting style is Filipino. So to see that, I was just like, okay, let's go. I was in. It was an interesting finale, and like you said, I just wanted more, like you said. But yeah, Heather.
No, I was gonna say what's really funny about that, and I still love it. It's even though Stephen has accepted his abilities, it was really fun to also see that he still isn't quite there. He's like, all right, Mark, you do this. I can't. Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. It's fine. I tried. And
but it was cool seeing him try, though.
He was really accepting the fact that he himself, Mark, Stephen, however you want to look at it, is accepting himself as who he is. And that's so much of trauma. We have to take in our trauma. We don't want to internalize it, but we need to accept that we are who we are, and we have to make ourselves better from it. And that's him. That's what we get to see, is we get to see him going, this is our living trauma. We will be the best superhero we can be. But you know what? At the same time, we still have some drawbacks. So, Mark, this is your turn. You become Secret Squirrel. It's fine. You do that.
There we go. So how did you feel with your predictions and the way they closed it out?
I think it was fun. Emmett having her, I'm just going to say this real quick. Emmett's hair being her tail was very weird. I don't know why I can't get past it. I'm just going to say that. I thought it was a good way to end the series. It is still obviously very open-ended. We have heard that there will be a Moon Knigget number 2. And I am very curious to see if they are going to give us some of those time lapses, which were clearly done on purpose. Be as angry about it as you want. That 3 minutes, it does suck that we didn't get to see that 3 minutes. I do think it'll be kind of fun once again if we got like a behind the scenes, or a extra snippet somewhere where it's like we get to see Jake's version of it. And I'm sorry that I just said his name again. But it was done on purpose. There's still more to his story, and that's why we are missing segments. And I loved that part of it. So then close it out with the Jake Lockley reveal at the very end. What were that? And then come out of Sienkiewicz Hospital, the nod to Bill Sienkiewicz. Shout out to Bill. That was dope. That nerd comic love right there. It's the moment he put his hands down. I will say they made him really fucking Italian, like real fucking Italian. He's supposed to be, an Italian New York cabbie, but like not hardcore Italian, but it makes changes. It's the MCU. It's going to happen. But the moment he put his hands down, you're like, oh, fuck, someone's dying. Like, it didn't have to do anything, just the hands. Someone's about to die. It's great.
So Jake Lockley, again, I don't, is like a complete, even badder badass than Mark Spector. Like, take no shorts. You're going to die.
He's the brawler. He's truly the brawler version of the character. Like that, he's the true brawler personality. The true street level, I'm going to beat them up kind of guy. So him staying as the personality that is truly the most brutal makes sense. But it's just so funny. You could hear it. You could hear it throughout the episode. Nerds getting angrier and angrier and angrier because they didn't show him. And then you get that final scene where you just get the moment those hands go down, you're like, you can hear the entire, it's the scream heard around the world. Every single nerd freaking the fuck out because it was Jake. And then Khonshu going, hey, Mark thinks I care about him. Nah, it's this dude.
So with that being said, right? So I was seeing stuff here online that is this the final Moon? Where do you think will it be now a film? Because, and how have you been seeing like the gauge of the reception? It's been a mixed bag, at least what I've been seeing here and there. So
People
what are we going to do with all of this?
People have been truly upset. General repeat of a statement that many of us have said over and over and over again. If you're expecting this to be the comics, then you are not paying attention to what film is. There have been rumors. There have been very, very serious rumors amongst people who are in the industry that the series is coming back for season 2. There is not stuck. They are excited to move forward. There is also the very real statement about Midnight Suns. Moon Knight will be back. He will be back in some way, shape, or form. If you do not like the fact that there were clearly rushed issues because we did have a member of the cast pass away, things had to be changed, things had to be rewritten. That seems more on the audience than it does on the show. It's nothing will ever appease every single human being of every single type. You have to accept some changes. But I'm very excited to see where else we are going to see him. And give me my goddamn Blade, Moon Knight, Werewolf by Midnight. Give me my goddamn horror characters.
Right. So I'm curious, with that being said, do you think, so that was, I don't know, I haven't been following it that closely. So we know that he died, after he recorded a couple stuff, but they didn't finish the whole season. Because it seems like this whole finale was unfinished. Like Midnight was supposed to play a part in this finale in a way, but because the actor died, I don't know. I'm confused.
From what I have read online, the series was, from what I read, he had passed away after the series ended, the finished production, but he was in the show more that would lead him into future roles. So this is just me speculating. This is just what I have read and what I have taken away. The reason that there were changes in episode 5 or 6 or something, they had to rewrite some bit of the series to remove him entirely so that there would not be concepts of continuation with Midnight Man.
Got it.
That wasn't the only reason for the rewrites, but that is part of what I heard is the reason that Midnight will not be back is because they fixed that at the end of episode 4. 3, whatever one that was. I think that was 3. 3. In 3, where he rides away and gets shot and gets pummeled in the back, and that's they gone. They fixed it on purpose. So
okay. So I'm just intrigued how this is all going to play out and what it's going to happen. I do hope we get more Moon Knight, like I said. And it's just when you see the comments, but F whatever people say, online, but at the same time, we know that enough of that, again, this goes to me, those dude bros, those people that made Restore the Snyderverse. I hate seeing that the
move on
crawls, that just drives me nuts, because I know how toxic fans can also change what we love. You know what I'm saying? Because they can gather en masse and do stuff like I'm done with those Snyderverse cats now. And no disrespect, but it's, but I'm worried about toxic fans and how that's going to affect Moon Knight.
There's a certain point we can use them as an example. It's when Snyder was able to finally make what he wanted because of them. And no matter which way you say it is because of the fandom that Snyder was just like, you know what, I will come back to it. I want to finish my story. I want to see my vision come to life, no matter what anybody says. It's because of them that happened. But at the same time, the moment that he made a comment, the moment that he said, you know what, I don't like this toxicity, please stop. They went against their own, the own thing that they wanted to see. There is never going to be the perfect piece. It does not matter how much you want it. Your story, the story that you see in your head, will never happen. You are not the creator. So it does not matter how much you did or did not like Moon Knight. What you missed, what you wanted, it's not going to happen by you harassing the people, usually the baby little interns who are working in social media, who are not the people that are making the decisions of what goes into anything. You harassing and abusing your voice. You have every right to your voice. You have every right to your voice. We are currently in a situation with the fucking Supreme Court. You have every right to your voice, but you just using it to harass, abuse, and assault physically or mentally, is just disgusting. Get over yourselves. And you know what? I agree. I hope that the toxicity that has been forming around this final episode is kind of overlapped and we do get more of it, because you know what? The only way that they are going to be happy, sorry guys, for all of you who toxic assholes, the only way that you are going to get more of a character of any type of form you want is if you let it happen. It's definitely not going to come in if you are acting like it's the worst thing on the planet. They're going to think that we hate the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just so again, like I said, I want more. We need to learn more. There's so much more questions. But it was a fun ride, and I'm happy we got to see it, and especially that payoff with this finale with Scarlet Scarab. Yo, dope. She's dope. I need more of her. Heather, let's sign off and let them know how they can reach out to us, and hopefully we will be back again, which I'm sure we'll be back again with Miss Marvel.
Yes, I'm so excited. Give us more Middle Eastern superheroes, everyone. Do it.
Yes. So how can they hit you up?
I was like, wait. Hi. You can follow me at Nerd is a Heather on Twitter and at Heather is a Nerd on TikTok and Instagram.
There you go. Hit her up. And for me, it's the Legend Kuya P on Twitter, TikTok, and IG. Of course, Show Pal Show, AAPI Toy Heroes. And here at the NRW at Release Wednesday, where nerds rule the world, we will be back to talk about Miss Marvel. Also, Thor, Love and Thunder. Heather's my Marvel partner. We're going to be rocking and rolling with everything with that doing. And if DC steps up right, and there is a couple DC projects coming soon. I don't know how I feel about them so much, but I think
I just want DC superhero pets. Give me my DC superhero pets.
So yeah, let's just see how. I want you to succeed. Just you're not killing it like Marvel is right now, and I just want good shit. That's all I want. If you give me good shit, I'll be happy. Then I'll support you. But it's been bad, honestly. Anyway, my opinion. No comment on Heather's front.
No, I'd drop the person who is abusive to others and just pretend that the DCEU is closed out. Finish up the series. Put the films out and that's it. Just put them out, move forward.
I agree wholeheartedly. There you go, my girl Heather, your boy Kuya P. We are out of here. All right, boom.
No.